Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low. I've spoken several times about weak leadership, the need, the necessity for good leadership, for strong leadership, uh, leadership that stands on, I believe, on biblical principles. A leadership that, well, if you are a leader, you will have a sense of purpose. You will have your direction where your moral compass will take you, and you will be able to lead people. You'll know what you stand for, and you won't be afraid to stand up and proclaim, "This is what I stand for. This is who I am." Uh, and I can not just say this is who I am and this is what I stand for, but I can back it up and I can explain it to you, and I can explain why I believe this is the way, this is the right way. A good leader doesn't just manage situations. Here in Australia at the moment, I think it's worldwide. Really, it's a global crisis of sorts when it comes to leadership. We have all these woke leaders, these people from the left side of politics, the extreme left, the far left. They're not good leaders at all. They've just they have very weak moral positionings. They don't really understand what they're standing for. Okay, they will fly the flag and say, this is our morals, these are our principles, but their morals and their principles are very weak. They're built on sand in reality, and they can't explain it. A lot of it's just, well, this is how I feel. This is the emotion of it all. A good leader will know, and will be able to explain it, not just say, well, just trust me. This is my emotional feeling. This is how I am today. You need to be able to explain yourself and explain your position, put a good argument forward, and not be afraid of confrontation or debate, not be afraid to defend yourself in your position, and be able to defend it. And also a good leader, I think, can and should be able to accept that, okay, there's some positions maybe I need to change, maybe I need to rethink. Don't be so big-headed as to say, no, this is it. I will not change direction. I will not change my stance no matter what. Anyway, so this is, I think, just yet and again another example of very poor leadership that we have, especially in Australian politics at the moment. I think the Greens, especially, they're a very good example of very poor leadership. They don't really stand for anything. They stand for nothing. They fall for anything. This is what happens when you have very, very weak moral positionings in life, and you're just blown about by the wind. In reality, yeah, you're like the wheat just flailing around, as depending on which way the wind blows, just in grass. But obviously this week we've seen the war break out in Israel. Now, I'll stay straight up. I stand for Israel. I'm not going to fly a picture on my Instagram or whatever. I just stand for Israel. I can debate it. I can tell you why. And I'm not afraid to announce it, to say it. But these people who would stand up and defend this act of terrorism, where you've had civilians attacked and just literally butchered, women, children butchered, and then they stand up and say, "Oh but look at what the Palestinian people, they have the right to defend themselves." And I would say, yeah, anyone has the right to defend themselves, but do you just go out and attack innocent people? Do you just go out and attack civilians? Just arbitrarily attack people when you're not under attack yourself when you're living in a situation that hey, you mightn't agree with it, you mightn't like that, you mightn't enjoy, and that people are trying to debate the pros and cons and how things should be settled, and you're trying to come to some form of compromise. But no, instead of behaving like adults, and instead of coming and saying, well, this is what we want, this is what you agree with, this is finding some middle ground, and maybe admitting where you're wrong, and getting either party to admit where we're wrong. No, we'll just go out and plan an attack, not on military people, not on military bases, not on people who could actually defend themselves. We'll just go out and butcher women, children, defenseless people who are out there just enjoying themselves in normal life, not armed, not looking for a fight. Would just go out and butcher them, take them, kidnap them, hold them hostage, butcher children. Some of the things that I've heard that have happened, you've got to wonder what kind of mindset. And then you have people, even people here in Australia, getting up and rejoicing over these things. That if you live in Australia and you think it is right to rejoice in the butchering of children, you need to pull your head and you need to go back. If that's what you want to do, go back to your stinking little third world piece of desert. Anyway, got that off my chest. Going back to leadership. The Greens, yet again, and it's not just the Greens, but predominantly the Greens, yet again, a great example of extremely poor leadership. This is how you don't behave. Let's just watch this video together. This is just from Sky News. Yeah, and these councillors. I don't understand councillors in my mind in Australia. Councillors they receive way too much of the limelight. They get way too much publicity. Councillors think far more of themselves than what they really should. It's your job to run the council. Anyway, we'll check this out. Have a listen to this and let me know what you think about all this, eh?
Weakness. Speaking of this rampant weakness, 2 Greens councillors and a Residents First councillor with the Wallara Council in Sydney's east, which is home to a large Jewish population, walked out on a vote condemning Hamas. Liberal councillor Mary Lou Jarvis joins me now with the details. Thanks for joining us, Mary Lou. Tell us about this motion and what occurred in the council chambers. Was this today or last night?
Chris, this was last night. It was actually, ironically, at the very time that people were leaving to march from Sydney Town Hall down to the Opera House, where, as we know, the Israeli flag was displayed. We obviously didn't know any of that until after the meeting. So our newly elected Mayor, Richard Shields, had, at the start of a meeting, a mayoral minute condemning.
Yeah, so like I said, they were talking about this displaying the flag on the Opera House, and these protesters come and rejoicing over the fact that women and children are just butchered, and then rejoicing over it and putting up some kind of defense. There is no defense for that kind of thing. Anyway, keep.
The unprecedented attack by Hamas on the Israeli people. We had passed that, or we'd all spoken to that, seconded it, and there were several people were missing from the council. Later, at the end of the meeting, Richard realised that we actually hadn't put it to a vote, so he put it to a vote. So this is sort of 3 hours after the meeting started, and to our surprise, 3 councillors got up and left the room. However, we were unanimous. All the people that were in the room voted to, as I say, condemn the unprecedented attack and offer our support to all the Jewish people in our community, of which there's many, Chris. We have a community that's strongly linked. These are our family and our friends, and regrettably, a lot of our family and friends here have family and friends in Israel that have been subjected to these horrific attacks in a democratic country. Imagine if that sort of thing happened to us here in Australia. And obviously our hearts go out to all those people that are affected.
Indeed. Now, Mary Lou Jarvis, this motion was condemning the terrorist atrocities and supporting the people of Israel through this terrible time. There's nothing political about that in terms of where you stand on the Palestinian issue and Israel. Why do you think, have you had any explanation as to why these Greens councillors walked out? I mean, how could any human being not support such a motion?
Oh, well, Chris, you'd have to ask them that. I can't.
Yeah. It's pretty obvious how you can't support this motion, because you're not a real leader, for one, and because you're just supporting terrorism, and because you've got no principles, no real principles. Okay, I can't keep going. Keep going.
Speak for them. All I can speak for is the people that are in the room that said, and it wasn't just for the people of Israel, it's the people in our community, as I say, our family and friends who have been impacted and been. These are the three that walked out. The three with no spine. Councillor Nicola Grieve, Councillor Matthew Robertson, Councillor Harriet Price. No spine whatsoever. Well, no principles anyway. They're basically just condoning the butchering of babies, because that's what happened. Having to deal with this extraordinary worry, these horrific attacks, and how it impacts on their family and friends in Israel. I mean, for example, the mayor's nephew is in Israel at the moment, as a lot of these young boys do, and girls, as their rite of passage. They go on their gap year and they go to a kibbutz. Yeah. And the tragedy, of course, of those videos that we've seen, young people dancing and all of a sudden running for their lives. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. It
is heartbreaking, and it just destroys our sense of humanity. We just had a picture of those three councillors up on screen. I just wanted, you're very clear in your mind, there have been media reports suggesting this, of course, but you're very clear in your mind that they got up and left the room because they did not want to vote in support of this motion?
Well, all I can say, Chris, is they certainly got up and left the room. I'd let everybody draw their own conclusions as to, they were not there for the vote. I think that. Yeah. Just unprincipled. I don't know. I can't say anything more. I'll probably get out of control. But this is what happens when you have poor leadership. Okay, we keep voting these clowns in, and then wondering why our country is decaying. We're allowing it to decay from the inside. Now, one thing about this vote and the way these councillors did what they did, I think that although people around the world, nations around the world, such as America and such as Australia, are all sitting there saying, you know, we stand with Israel, and they're condemning these terrorism attacks. I believe it won't take long before the sentiment worldwide changes. When Israel stands up and does what it needs to do, okay, and it starts, and it fights back, trying to drill out, trying to take back this, trying to take back its citizens, and trying to bring law and order into the Gaza Strip, trying to demolish, trying to take down Hamas. Yeah, the problem is the border's been shut. The border's been shut, and Egypt isn't accepting people from from Gaza, and yet they've turned the argument around. They've turned the narrative around and tried to blame. Well, you can see the narratives being turned around and the blame's being shifted to Israel. And how dare they, continue with this defensive? They're just attacking innocent people, trying to get revenge. They are doing what they have to do to defend their nation, which any nation would be allowed to do, except Israel. Israel is the one nation in the world that is not allowed to defend its people, according to the rest of the world. I believe what these councillors have done
is what is eventually going to come out in a couple of weeks. It's not going to take long, I don't think, before the rest of the world, before the narrative changes, and you're going to see the rest of the world start to turn its back on Israel, because they're not going to agree with the stance that Israel needs to take. I also think that we are actually in the middle, or at the start. I don't know, not at the start, I suppose, but I think we're actually in World War III, and I'm going to do a video about that later on. But let me know what you think. What do you think is going to happen with Israel? How do you think that the rest of the world? Do you think nations like Australia, the UK, America, do you think they're going to continue to support and encourage Israel, or do you think they're just going to turn their backs and say, hey, start to mellow things down and continue to push for this two-state solution? The narrative will change, and no, it's the poor Palestinians now. Oh no, you can't keep attacking Hamas. You can't keep defending your country. Let me know what you think. I think things are going to change, and everyone's going to start turning their back on Israel. I don't think it's right. Don't think you should do it. Don't think it's a good thing to do. But I think this is what will happen. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me now. No more demons to be done. No selling out my soul just to focus on the goal. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Nothing's gonna hold me down. Got my eye on the prize. Got my eye on the prize. And tears on side. Nothing's gonna bring me down. Nothing's gonna stop me now. No more deals to be done. No more selling out my soul just to focus on the goal. Nothing's gonna stop me now. Nothing's gonna